Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're doing something ambitious. We're diving into, well, the ultimate logistical challenge. The first 10,000 days of humans on Mars.
Yeah, and this isn't just, pie-in-the-sky thinking. We've synthesized sources to build a pretty detailed blueprint, step by step, really, of how you go from a barren patch of rock to a functioning town.
A self-sustaining town, eventually. So where does it start? Day zero, I guess?
Day zero, 5 starships land, completely uncrewed, at a place called Erebus Montes.
And the absolute first job, before anyone even thinks about setting foot there.
Essentials. Getting life support systems dropped off and deployable. Setting up basic communications. And this is huge, fuel preparation. Got to think about getting back, even from day zero.
Right. And as we unpack this whole timeline for you, the listener, we really want to dig into this core tension. You've got the staggering cost. We're talking $50 million for an early ticket, and these huge environmental hurdles, like why solar panels are just, 43% as efficient?
Yeah, exactly. That kind of thing. But maybe the biggest piece is understanding that final turning point. The difference between Mars just surviving on its own versus maintaining itself as an advanced civilization. That's key.
That tension, you called it the umbilical cord paradox before?
Kind of captures it, yeah. It really shapes the whole story. So let's start at the beginning. Phase 1, the robotic groundwork, those first 2 years.
Okay, so 5 ships land. What are they carrying? The cargo list must be immense.
It is, but it's focused. Power and fuel are the big ones. Sources mention, get this, 7 football fields worth of solar panels in that first drop.
7 football fields? Why so much? That sounds incredibly inefficient, doesn't it?
It is, kind of, but you have to. The sunlight's weaker there, the thin atmosphere filters it, so the panels only manage about 43% of what they do on Earth. You just need sheer volume.
Okay, volume compensates, makes sense. What about communications? Global network?
Clever bit here. The Martian Starlink initially only needed 4 satellites. Just 4.
How? Starlink here needs thousands.
Because the first base was tiny, geographically speaking. They didn't need planet-wide coverage yet, just a strong, reliable link right over that initial landing zone. Concentrated coverage.
Yeah, localized comms. But fuel? That seems like the make-or-break element. No fuel, no return trips, ever. It all hangs on the Sabatier process, right?
Absolutely. Sabatier is everything for fuel.
But that process, it needs massive power and heat just to start up. How did 5 uncrewed ships generate enough juice to kickstart a fuel factory big enough to eventually refuel a starship? That sounds like a huge gamble.
It was a high-risk gamble. They used those initial solar arrays, all 7 football fields of them, to power the thermal units needed.
Okay.
Then the process itself, it grabs CO2, which Mars has plenty of,
Right.
and combines it with hydrogen, and that hydrogen comes from drilling into Martian water ice deposits.
So robots had to find and mine ice.
Exactly. The initial population was purely robotic, rovers drilling for ice, specialized robot dogs like the Boston Dynamics ones, doing inspections, making sure everything deployed right, no human hands involved yet.
Wow. So the safety of the first human crew depended entirely on robots successfully mining ice and making fuel all alone for 2 whole years.
Pretty much, yeah. And those same rovers were also doing site prep, flattening the ground, even melting the top layer of regolith, that loose Martian soil.
Why melt the soil?
To create a better landing pad. It reduces the amount of dust and rocks kicked up when the next ships come in, makes landings much, much safer for the crewed missions later. Every single thing those robots did was about enabling human survival down the line.
Which brings us then to phase 2. The humans arrive, the first settlers. But not right away.
Nope. The tyranny of the clock, as they say, orbital mechanics, you can only launch efficiently during specific windows.
How long was wait?
2 years and 2 months between those first cargo drops and the next good launch window. And even then, the window itself is super tight, sometimes only 12 days long maybe, with only a half-hour to 2-hour launch period each day.
So Earth had to be churning out starships like crazy.
Immense production rate. SpaceX building maybe 2 a week by then, something like 104 a year. They needed hundreds ready for each window.
Okay, so window opens, humans finally go. Who were they?
The first crew was 30 people, astronauts, sure, but also scientists, engineers, doctors, even some military folks with science backgrounds. They landed along with 10 more cargo ships, and they knew the deal. A 2-year, 2-month commitment, minimum.
And they land. What hits them first?
The physical reality, that 7-month trip in low G, It takes a toll. You land, you feel heavy, muscles are weak. First week is basically just acclimatization, getting used to Mars's 38% gravity.
And the environment outside.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Average temp is minus 63 Celsius, minus 81 Fahrenheit,
Yeah.
and dust storms. They can cover the whole planet. Orbiters give warnings, but it's a constant threat.
Okay, so they adjust, then what? Sit tight.
No way. They get to work immediately onto the Green Project, literally trying to turn bits of Mars green. Genetically engineered plants designed for Mars. And special cyanobacteria. Those little guys could pull nitrogen from the atmosphere and make ammonia fertilizer.
Resourceful.
Incredibly. First crops were things like rye, radishes, tomatoes, beans, carrots, potatoes. And guess what they used for fertilizer initially?
Uh-oh.
Recycled astronaut waste, a completely closed-loop system proving life could be sustained using Martian resources right from the start.
That's success, that proof of concept. It must have paved the way for the next phase. Phase 3, you called it. Building a real presence.
Exactly. Phase 3 is where it shifts. From just surviving like a military outpost to becoming a budding society, and maybe more importantly, a budding economy. The next group of settlers arrives, and we hit this big symbolic moment. Humans finally outnumber robots on Mars.
The population flips, and this is where private money starts flowing in.
Big time. The sources highlight the arrival of the first architect, which is interesting, but also the first 4 private citizens, the ones who paid $50 million each.
Right, $50 million for a 2-year stint in that environment.
Yep. $50 million a pop. That tells you there was immediate, maybe even desperate demand for this, beyond just government programs. People wanted to go.
And that private cash helps build stuff.
Essential stuff. Permanent infrastructure. We see the first proper greenhouse domes go up, which apparently led to the first documented Martian salad.
A salad on Mars.
Little victories, right. They also start work on Depot X, a dedicated fueling station, and begin 3D printing habitats.
How do you 3D print a habitat on Mars? What's the material?
Martian soil, basically. The AI Space Factory printer mixed the local regolith with some kind of lab-grown plant material that acted as a polymer, like a glue. This formed a hard outer shell for radiation protection. Inside was still an inflatable structure for living space. Super efficient use of local resources.
Smart. And they were already thinking about going underground.
Yeah, sending data back to the Boring Company on Earth about digging trials, looking at tunnels for permanent shielded living spaces.
And meanwhile, the billionaires back on Earth are staking their claims.
Oh yeah. Jeff Bezos registers Amazon.Mars. Blue Origin starts planning cargo, runs high-value deliveries, first for space agencies, then later for private clients, basically becoming the first Martian shipping company.
But here's that umbilical cord thing again, right? They're printing with dirt, which is great.
Yeah, very self-sufficient for basic structure.
But they still need Earth for the complex stuff. The printer itself, the computers running it, the comms gear.
Precisely. Survival is becoming local, building materials, water, basic air. But advancement, high technology, that's still firmly tied to Earth.
Okay, so phase 4, things really start to accelerate now, I gather, thanks to the planets aligning, literally.
Yeah, the Great Crossing, year 2035, something called a perihelic opposition happens. Basically, Mars and Earth get closer than usual on their orbits.
And that means?
Shorter trip time. Cuts the journey down from 7 months to maybe 5, big difference. And that opens the floodgates. Hundreds of settlers start arriving.
And the base grows?
Explodes, really. Industrial 3D printers working autonomously now, speed up construction. That initial international habitat expands, connects, becomes a real town-sized settlement of interconnected domes. They even start building the first hospital.
Wow, and the population hits.
Quick, crosses the 1,000-person mark. Think about that. Barely a decade in, maybe a bit more.
That quickly. Amazing. And society starts forming.
Absolutely. You see the first Martian marriage broadcast back to Earth. Countries start building proper embassies, moving beyond purely functional buildings to structures that actually express national pride. Architecture with style, not just survival.
And with more people comes politics.
Inevitable. The first Martian political system gets set up, needed to govern local stuff, keep everyone focused on that self-sufficiency goal.
The needs get more complex too, I imagine.
Definitely. The real Boring Company tunnel digger finally lands. Starts work on proper underground, shielded passageways, safer transport, safer living areas.
And socially. Bigger milestones.
Huge ones. The first baby is born on Mars, which triggers intense medical study, obviously, on mother and child. They build a dedicated maternity ward in the hospital pretty quickly after that.
And life's little luxuries.
Start appearing. The first restaurant opens, serving bioprinted food including meat.
Biotrinted meat.
Yeah. And all this growth needs power, serious power. Solar isn't going to cut it for a town of 1,000 plus. So construction begins on the first parts of a nuclear fusion power plant. Long-term thinking.
A fusion power on Mars. Okay, that brings us to the final stretch, phase 5. Self-sufficiency and hitting that 10,000-day mark. What happens here?
Exploration kicks into high gear. Year 2046, someone climbs Olympus Mons.
The giant volcano.
Giant volcano, 2.5 times taller than Everest. Took 9.5 months testing out new, more flexible spacesuits. A real feat of endurance.
And industry keeps pace.
For sure. An mRNA manufacturing facility comes online.
Like for vaccines.
Exactly. So settlers can get vaccinated before potentially returning to Earth. Blue Origin deploys its big project. A fully autonomous factory in orbit around Mars.
In orbit? Why not on the surface?
To process asteroids for materials in space. The idea was to avoid heavy industrial pollution of the Martian atmosphere itself, thinking really long-term about environmental impact.
And other big names set up shop.
Yep. Elon Musk opens the first Martian Tesla Gigafactory, mostly focused on recycling all those solar panel batteries and building electric rovers and transporters locally.
Then comes another wave of people.
The second Great Crossing, year 2051. This time, it's not hundreds, it's tens of thousands arriving. Government officials, serious mining geologists. The works.
And this is the tipping point.
This is it. This massive influx, combined with advanced AI robotics and the established human workforce, it pushes Mars over the threshold. They become fully self-sufficient for all the essentials.
The fine essential.
Power, air, water, food, and fuel. If Earth suddenly vanished or cut off all contact, the colony could survive. It could keep going and even grow on its own using Martian resources.
That's the moment. 10,000 days, roughly 27 years, and they've done it. But
yeah,
there's always a but, isn't there? You mentioned that caveat.
There's a huge asterisk, yeah. Survival, yes. They can make their own air, grow food, generate power, produce fuel, but they'd survive in a, well, relatively primitive state compared to Earth.
How so?
The crucial caveat is this. Mars still absolutely needs advanced electronics, new scientific breakthroughs, high-tech manufacturing components from Earth if it wants to continue developing as an advanced civilization.
So the umbilical cord is still there.
Just
for different things, not for basic survival, but for progress.
Exactly. Survival is achieved locally, thriving, advancing technologically, still dependent on Earth.
And right around this 10,000-day mark, we get this really symbolic event.
Yeah, the inverse of the first landing. The first human born on Mars visits Earth.
How do they handle Earth's gravity after growing up in 38% G?
They need help. A robotic exoskeleton suit, apparently controlled directly by a Neuralink brain chip, to manage the much heavier gravity here.
Wow. And back on Mars, are there signs of change?
Yeah.
To the planet itself?
Subtle ones, yeah. Inside the big domes, grasslands and even woody plants are thriving. But the sources note something amazing. The first strands of actual grass found growing wild outside the domes.
Escaped seedlings?
Escaped seedlings managing to survive somehow on the open Martian surface. The very first hints of potential terraforming, perhaps?
What a journey. I mean, from 5 lonely cargo ships dropping off solar panels to a town-sized colony, self-sufficient in essentials, with its own politics, industry, a restaurant printing meat, and wild grass. Incredible.
It really is staggering when you lay it out like that. What stands out to you listening to this? For me, it's the speed of the social evolution, going from figuring out how to make fertilizer from, well, human waste, to building fancy embassies as symbols of national pride in just a couple of decades. That leap from pure necessity to, cultural expression and even luxury is incredibly fast.
Yeah.
Society just forms and scales its needs so quickly.
It really does. But I keep coming back to that final detail, that asterisk. We track the first Mars-born person coming home to Earth, needing a brain chip and a robot suit. And we just established the colony is only self-sufficient for essentials.
Right. Survival, not necessarily advancement.
So if Mars can keep itself alive, but still needs Earth's most advanced technology, the electronics, the new science, just to maintain its status as an advanced place, how deep does that reliance actually run?
And that's the provocative thought, isn't it? For you, the listener, to mull over, what does that continued dependence, even after achieving basic self-sufficiency, mean for a future Martian identity? Can you be truly independent if you can survive, but maybe can't advance without help? It forces you to think about the difference between just surviving and truly thriving.